Hi, everyone. Rick Boswell's here with the Sports Affiliation. Here for the Thursday Checkdown show. The goal is just to provide you with the latest information to help you win your games and in the process have more fun. Greg, our Hall of Famer, is still in Japan.
Inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Yeah, but I'm fortunate to have one of the smartest fantasy football analysts that I know of, Joe Frick, with us, and he's going to be filling in for Greg. So, Joe, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself again, reintroduce yourself since you were here last week, but also let people know where they can normally find you during the week.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Joe Frick from the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, FSAN.com. Do quite a different things for them. I run all of our socials, so if you see funny stuff on Twitter, definitely me. If you see not funny stuff on Instagram, definitely somebody else. I also do a show on Wednesday nights with my boy Drew Hannis, the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show, every Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern. We do things like Fantasy Football Tinder. We do our only fantasy subscriptions for the week and all of your news and injury updates. Then on Friday night, From the Forum with Tyler Bradley, one of the owners of FSAN. It's our Friday night Q&A special. Rick's been on there once. We got to get him back on there again for mid-season form, but it's a lot of fun every Friday night, 10 Eastern. But yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to be back. I didn't get kicked out after my performance last week. Still laughing like crazy after all of the shenanigans that Tipp got us into with all of his different costumes and stuff. It felt very underdressed for the occasion. See some people in the chat. What's good, Mace? Daniel Barry, thanks for coming in tonight. But yeah, we're really happy to be here. It should be a fun show.
So we're going to do things a little differently tonight. We're going to start off with all the late-breaking injury and other news trades. Hi. And just to start us off, though, I want to remind folks that there are 4 teams on bye: the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Chiefs. And I suspect that definitely from the Chiefs' point of view, but you probably have some of the Bengals and Cowboys in your lineup. So make sure you get those people on your bench and don't start off with a 0. I'll go through a couple of the big injuries. Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commander quarterback, he had a dislocated elbow. That injury looked really bad. That arm just bent the other way. But the good news was that there weren't any tears or there weren't any breaks. So there is a slight chance he might be back by the end of the season, but definitely will be able to play in 2026 with no impact. Marcus Mariota is his replacement. He has started 3 games for the Commanders and has actually done fairly well. He's averaged 17 fantasy points in the games that he's been in. And if you extrapolate them into the full games, because he started 3, he came in 3, he's had 20 fantasy points per game. So, someone to look for if you are in quarterback need. C.J. Stroud, the Houston Texans quarterback, had a concussion. Davis Mills is his replacement, probably already snapped up in any waiver situation. Kyler Murray, he is the Arizona Cardinals quarterback, and I've heard soft bench as a phrase to describe what's happened to him. He does have an injured foot and is supposed to be out for another 4 to 8 weeks. So it looks like the Cardinals have decided to make the move to Jacoby Brissett. He's looked better than Murray over the course of the games he's played in. And this should also boost both Trey McBride and MHJ. So hopefully you got better quarterback possibilities anyway. Marion Hampton, he's suffered an ankle and foot injury in week 5. It doesn't look like he's going to be back until week or after the week 12 bye. Then we'll look at Puka Nacua. He had a rib injury, but there's a chance that he is going to play this weekend, which would be good news. Travis Hunter, he had the Jaguars wide receiver and cornerback. He had a horrible non-contact injury in practice during the week, and he's out on IR. Brian Thomas Jr. is also out with a sprained ankle, and Diami Brown has a concussion. So Parker Washington had been the only healthy wide receiver, but they looked out on the trade waves and picked up Jacoby Myers. And Jacoby Myers, along with Parker Washington, are going to be starting this week for the Jaguars. Then Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders wide receiver, he looks like he's going to be out and looks like he might not play until week 12. So other possibilities there, you've got Debo, Zach Ertz, a tight end, Jalen Lane, and recently signed Traylon Burks as possibilities there. T. Higgins had a concussion, but he's already cleared protocol, so no, he should be cleared to play. Tucker Kraft, Green Bay Packer tight end, had a torn ACL. He's out rest of the season. Yeah, that hurts me in a number of teams. Luke Musgrave is his replacement. He was 3 for 34, replacing Kraft in the last game, but he's probably already snapped up in every waiver situation. And then looks like Garrett Wilson will be practicing this week, so that's at least good news. We had some trades. We mentioned Jacoby Myers to the Jaguars. The New York Jets traded Sauce Gardner, cornerback, to Indianapolis Colts for not one but 2 first-round draft picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. So the Jets were able to get something back for Sauce Gardner. The Saints traded wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to the Seahawks for a 4th and a 5th round pick in the 26th draft. The Cowboys were a little busy. They acquired Jets defensive tackle Quinnen Williams for a 26 second, 27 first, and defensive tackle Mazi Smith. And then the Dallas Cowboys also acquired Logan Wilson, linebacker from the Bengals, for a 6th round pick. There were some other trades that happened, minor trades. The Ravens traded a 5th, which could become a 4th depending on how Draymond Jones, edge rusher from the Titans. Also, the Cleveland Browns traded defensive end Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and a 7th to the Bears for a 6th. The Bears were looking for a defensive end because they lost Daya Odeyingbo with the season-ending Achilles injury. And lastly, the Jets also acquired a cornerback, J.C.R. Taylor, from the Chargers for a conditional 28-7. So that covers up our news and trade news, and I guess we could move over to our. Normally we do a Joes and Pros section here, but it looks like I'll be the Joe and Joe's going to be the pro.
I don't think that makes sense. I mean, you're the pro here. It's very clearly said on the screen that I'm the Joe. It's there twice, right?
Well, we'll do our best with just the two of us, and how's that?
Yeah. Well, the pro Joe's out here. I did want to answer Mason's questions, though. So is Kyler the QB? He's pretty much done for the season, I think. All indications of that, it looks like a Liz Frank style injury. He went from pretty much being able to play to not really being able to do anything at all and immediately thrown on IR. So I think he's done for the year. Maybe a baseball player next year. We'll see. Treylon Burks, there is opportunities in that room. Will his snap share increase? Yes. But will he be fantasy relevant? No. And last but not least, I know this one is weighing heavily on like the football community as a whole. But just to take a moment for Marshawn Nealon, passed away early this morning at 24. Absolutely horrendous. It's something that you don't want to see, especially for somebody so young, so full of promise. For people out there that are feeling like they're struggling or they're dealing with things, I think it goes without saying for you as well, Rick, like reach out to people, reach out to me. I don't care if this is the first time you see me or if you've stupidly convinced yourself to listen to more of the shows that I deal with, but it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to ask for help when you need it. So, hearts, thoughts, minds with the Nealon family, the Cowboys organization, all those people that were impacted and touched by his life. It's crazy to think that somebody that went and scored a defensive special teams touchdown a couple days ago was kind of feeling and harboring those feelings. So I think it's important to rally around each other and stick together. So just wanted to kind of take a moment for that. Yeah.
Definitely. And that's a great point. We're a community in the fantasy football world, and, we don't know what other challenges other people are, having. And, definitely reach out to people you love or people that you can talk to. Hate to see someone go through that, especially, so young in their life. 24 years old is super young. But that's a great point. And I echo your thoughts and prayers to the Nealon family as well as the Dallas Cowboy extended family. Well, so let's go ahead and normally doing the pros shows, we give a couple of players that we look as sleepers, players outside the top 12 if they're a quarterback or tight end, or outside the top 24 if they're a running back and wide receiver. And these are players that we think are going to bust out and have an unusually good game in the coming week. So why don't we go ahead and let you give your first sleeper pick?
Yeah, so I knew that there was a possibility that this was going to happen. I picked a player who had a big game last week, and there was a chance that the person in the starting role could come back and return. That player is Kyle Monangai, the running back for the Chicago Bears. Had an absolute monster game last week with DeAndre Swift sitting out with the injury. DeAndre Swift practiced in full today, so we do think that he is going to go. But with that being said, I still have full confidence in the fun guy, Kyle Monangai, bringing in a top 24 performance for the running back position this week. Even before the injury, we know that it was turning into a very much a 50-50 split between Swift and Monangai, and we're looking at a matchup with the New York Giants. The Giants are giving in full PPR. They are averaging, where are we here? 37.3 points per game. So there's enough to go around. I think they're both going to have huge games. And if Swift is banged up, they are going to want to start it slow. Yes, they're not at MetLife, but Soldier Field, whatever they call it these days, it's not necessarily known for being the best field on the planet. So you know what? Give me the fun guy. Let's have some fun together this week, and let's see him put up some big numbers.
Yeah, I love it. And, last week, my sleeper was going to be Kyler Murray, but then as we got, towards the show and, hearing that there was a good chance he wasn't going to play, I quickly switched it and fudged a bit and said, oh, the Arizona quarterback. And that did work out for me. But I still think that Monangai is a great flex at the very least choice. So that's a great pick. I'm kind of going a little bit further out there than I normally do. I'm choosing for my sleeper, Cade Otton, Tampa Bay Buccaneer tight end.
I like it.
And as a Fantasy Pros ranking, he's the tight end 17. So this is a little bit out there, but over the last 4 games, he's averaged 5 receptions and 59 yards. And that equates to just under 11 fantasy points per game. Since week 5, he's had a 19% target share with 59 yards receiving per game, 2.14 yards per route run, and a 12.5 first read share. And I'm stealing those stats from Fantasy Points data.
I love that website so much.
And it's a great source. So, I would definitely dig into it if you haven't had a chance yet. Also, if you look at the Patriots, they're 26th in the league against the tight end position, allowing 63 plus yards and 9.1 fantasy points games to tight ends. So I would be looking at Cade Otton as a good sleeper choice.
I love it.
Then let's go to the other side and look at players that we think are going to bust during the week. And again, I'll let you get the first shot in there.
Yeah, man. So it's funny. We're same position, same game, opposite side of the field. For me, Hunter Henry, he started the year off hot. He's cooled down quite a bit in the last few weeks. He's somebody that I think that finishes outside the top 12. New England going up against Tampa Bay in the last 3 weeks. They're only allowing 11.4 games to tight ends. So matchups against New Orleans, Detroit, San Francisco. So teams that you think that they would throw quite a bit. It's the 9th worst matchup across the boards for tight ends. I don't think that New England is going to have a good game passing at all. Drake May is somebody that I'm actually fading a smidge this week, and we're saying that like I'm going from like his typical QB 4 or 5 to like 7, 8 kind of fade. He's still playing, you're still doing whatever, but I think that Tampa Bay is going to come out hot in this game defensively. I think that people are sleeping on that defense quite a bit. They've only allowed 9.5 points to quarterbacks in the last 3 weeks. And granted, you got the Tyler Shuck experience last week, so that obviously helps. But they also shut down Jared Goff at home, which I didn't know was possible. So with this team, when they're thinking about it, they're on their game, they can make it happen. It's a home game in Tampa Bay. So I think that defense, it's going to be a low-scoring affair. So I don't really like it for Hunter Henry at all.
Well, and I like that pick. My bust, and it's partly because I'm a Houston Texan fan, so part of this is using my heart as much as my mind. But Travis Etienne, Jacksonville Jaguar running back. Oh, yeah,
I like it. I like it.
And he's been kind of just mid this year. He's on a mid offense, and he's posting mid efficiency numbers. With 3.79 yards created per touch, which is 15th amongst qualified running backs. And he's had 26 evaded tackles, which is 20th among qualified running backs. But more importantly, if we look at Etienne's last 4 games against the Texans, he's had 20 attempts, 56 yards, 0 touchdowns, 11 attempts, pass receptions. He's had 50 yards total receiving, no touchdowns. I'm sorry, I'm running through the list for the last 4 games. So he had 20 attempts for 56 yards, 0 touchdowns. Then he had 11 attempts, 50 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then he had 13 attempts, 46 yards, but again, no touchdowns, and that was earlier this year. And then 16 attempts, 56 yards, and 1 touchdown. So
yeah, the efficiency's way down. I like the play. Jacksonville's offense has been a bit of a struggle, and as you know, that Houston defense
is tough.
It's
tough against the run, even tougher against the pass.
And you have to think too that with CJ Stroud probably not playing, that they're going to try to milk as much clock as they can, run the ball with Marks and Chubb, and just kind of bleed that game out as much as they can.
Yeah, and for us, Woody Marks fans, seeing that Chubb did practice today, and I think you're right. It's going to be a game where the Texans do try to milk the clock, get as much opportunity to let the Jacksonville Jaguars make the mistakes, especially T-Law. And I wanted to also point out one other thing. The Texans' passing defense is so tough that Etienne's had he was 1 for 10, 3 for 12, and last game 0 for 0 in receiving his last 3 games against.
Which is shocking because that was his calling card coming out of college, that he could do it all kind of back, and we just really haven't seen it from him lately. He had the hot start to start the year, went over 120 in his first game, but he's been struggling quite a bit. You know who I think is a sneaky play in that game is going to actually be Parker Washington. There's a lot of folks that are concerned with Jacoby Myers jumping on the moving bus right now and trying to get them going. They already said this week that Jacoby Myers is a slot receiver. He's a very good one at that. But they said for him to play this week and be effective in the lineup, especially with the injuries to BTJ, especially with Travis Hunter already being out for the year. What's up, Tipp? That They're not going to put Myers into the slot this week. Parker Washington's going to be that guy for at least one more week, and then they'll probably start doing some sort of transition plan. But Parker Washington, he had well over 2 yards per route run last week. He led the Jaguars in slot snaps, and Stingley doesn't go and cover the slot, as I'm sure that you know. So if anybody's going to be doing anything in that receiving room, it's probably going to be Parker Washington this week. Rest of season, Trevor Lawrence has never really been able to support a wide receiver. So that's kind of an issue there. But at least if you need him for this week, you could play him in a pinch.
Yeah. And, again, it looks like Washington had developed a pretty good rapport with Lawrence. And so I think that that's a great point to make. I also think that, maybe the Jaguars try to mix it up and involve, Bashal Tutin a little bit more in this game. He's got a little bit more spark to him, I think. And that would be a player that if you're really desperate for a running back, that might be someone to consider. Hey, Tipp.
What's going on?
Going well, and appreciate you coming in here. I was wondering, do you have any players that you really like for this week, or conversely, that someone you would probably suggest fading?
Fading? Well, I mean, not to go into the AI segment too early, but I was looking at some stuff with Alvin Kamara. Might be time to start thinking about fading him, just off the usage alone and the lack of usage. So that's one guy that I'm looking at, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. And you know what else too, guys? Bijan Robinson, man. And I am a big Bijan Robinson. I've been talking about him since 2 years ago. I love the kid, right? But he's on a little bit of a slide right now, and he looks like, to me, it's more matchup based. And if you look at it, Indianapolis is one of the tougher teams when it comes to running backs, or having running backs do anything against them. So I think that Bijan has another tough week this week. He might get it done in the passing game, but I think that he has another tough week. So I'm kind of a little. You have to play him, but I'm just not too excited to play him this week.
Yeah. Do you think that with London, you think it's a coincidence that London had, of course, his best game as Bijan was kind of starting to see less productivity? I think
they're trying to work on their chemistry. Michael Penix in London, he has to have a go-to guy, and London is his go-to guy in the passing game. Pitts is going to be a secondary or maybe even a third option, but London's going to be his guy. So they're working on that chemistry so they can continue to build on something, and that's what you're seeing there. Bijan is the focal point of the offense, So it's a little two-headed sword there, because you got like Michael Penix working on his chemistry with Drake London, but then the offense needing to flow through Bijan Robinson. So it's kind of like they're getting in the way of each other a little bit. So I think, maybe you got to look at Zach Robinson too, and hopefully he does a little bit better job coaching. But maybe if they start to get a little bit more balance, that'll help them as well. So.
Yeah, and do you think that also, perhaps, I don't know, scaling back a little bit on the amount of usage, I mean, the number of touches, I know everyone was talking about whether the curse of 370 was real or not, and looking at Saquon Barkley's, production this year as being up, that was definitely, something a lot of people were concerned about. Do you think that maybe the Falcons should also be looking at, and maybe that means either more Algiers or?
Look, the Falcons need to win games. I don't think they don't have the luxury of doing that. Philly does, right now at least. So I don't think that they got to win games, and having Bijan Robinson having the ball in his hand is gonna help you win games. So I think they can't look at it like that. If they were in a situation like Philadelphia where they, were first in the division and everybody else was fighting and clawing, but like nowhere really close to them, then yeah, maybe they can, scale down some of his workload. But I think, Bijan's a young guy. I think he's ready to go. He doesn't seem like he's slowed down at all. He doesn't seem like he's dealing with any big time injuries. And of course, he's probably dealing with some bumps and bruises right now. But that's about it, man. I think you gotta roll this kid out there. Again, the matchup is a tough one this week.
It is. And I mentioned Saquon Barkley, and I know a lot of people were rushing out trying to get, I guess, shares of Tank Bigsby because, Barkley had been a bit dinged. But I did hear today that Barkley was full practice. So, expect, to see the normal usage during the game with the in the Eagles game. Hey, you mentioned it. We're excited about it. I have a feeling you're going to be a little bit toned down, not as much Aussie, invitations going on there. But I think it's time to AI or not to AI.
Let's do it.
Wow. And I'll be honest, I don't have stats on this, how we've been doing.
I got it. Oh, yeah, no, I got it. So last week we had DJ Moore, we had Dalton Kincaid, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Mary. DJ Moore and Dalton Kincaid were within like tenths of points of each other, but DJ Moore did come out number one. So the results for Sir Whittington, Tipp, and Krog are still the same. So me and Sir Whittington are sitting at 20, and then 28 is where Krog is sitting, because we were all in agreement last week. I think all of us, for the most part, were pretty much in agreement. There was one person. Was it you, Rick? Was it you, Rick?
Yeah, I went to the Bill Well one more time, and as usual, he disappointed. So
I believe Moose Hype called Ja'Cory Krosky-Mary, which we were all like, yo, I don't know why. Like, that matchup was brutal, and it showed.
Yeah, no, I fully will eat crow with that. And Kincaid had a tough matchup too, but he had a great game. So
he had a little bit more to prove too, especially after that last game that they played. But hey, we're not here to talk about the past. The past is what the past is. We're here to talk about right now. Right now, we got three players to choose from. We got Josh Downs. That's right. I want winners. And I think we got some winners here. We got Josh Downs of the Indianapolis Colts. We've got Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. And we got Zach Ertz of the Washington Commanders. These are our three players that we get to choose from. And it's funny. It's funny because Sir Whittington and Krog are all on the same page again. I think that they're conspiring. I think that they're trying to get their nuts and bolts together to figure out how they can take me down, because they're not going to. But they have it both. Josh Downs, number one, Alvin Kamara, number two, and Zach Ertz, number three. I'm going to give you what Sir Whittington said first. He said Josh Downs is reliable. He's a reliable target option for Daniel Jones, and he trusts him. Last week, he had a touchdown. This week, they're without A.D. Mitchell or Adonai Mitchell, because look, he's no longer there. He's with the Jets. I don't think that necessarily matters, but he did take in the fact that, look, this team does pass the ball 33 times a game. So they do pass. They're a pass-first team. They run the ball about 25 times a game. So they're a pass-first team. And he feels like that Josh Downs could get some work this week. Now, as far as what Krog said, Krog was kind of the same, but what he said was he was a touchdown-dependent wide receiver. But he feels like he can get in the end zone this week, even against that stingy Atlanta Falcons defense. And I'll talk a little bit about the Atlanta Falcons defense in a little bit. And then for me, I actually went Josh Downs as well. We all agree on Josh Downs. I think that he is the number one guy out of this group this week. Look, he's going against the Falcons. We talked about how tough that defense is. But we don't have anything to go off of because they're playing overseas. So the last thing, the only thing I'm going to go off is what they did last week. Last week, they gave over 220 yards passing. I think they might be susceptible to the pass again this week. And not only that, they're averaging 22 points on the defense, giving up points, 22 points per game. But in the last three games, they're giving up 26. So their defense hasn't been as good. And I think Daniel Jones, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, both get in the end zone this week and find themselves winning against Atlanta. But I will say this for the second one, and this is where we differ a little bit. They both get Alvin Kamara, right? They both like Alvin Kamara. They said that the passing game is the involvement. He's involved in the passing game. I beg to differ. He's efficient. I beg to differ. And they both said that he's also he has a great matchup. Again, it's a good matchup. It's not a great. It's a good matchup. But again, I beg to differ because Alvin Kamara, guys, we'll just get to it in a minute because you know what? We're going to talk to you guys about Zach Ertz and why I think Zach Ertz is going to be number 2. Zach Ertz right now is a safety blanket for Marcus Mariota. We know Jaden Daniels rests his arm. He's not going to be in service anymore, right? So he's out. So I will say this, Marcus Mariota, they're going against the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are tough against the tight ends, right? But one thing that the Detroit Lions do, they do allow receptions. They allow right under 5 receptions a game. And I think that Zach Ertz, Marcus Mariota, they get into a groove with no possible Terry McLaurin. And then also you got to remember Luke McCaffrey is now on IR. So there's more opportunities for Zach Ertz. So that's why I have him at number 2. And look, number 3, guys, Alvin Kamara, man. I think it's time, guys. I think he's getting phased out of the offense. Nobody wanted trade. No, we didn't hear anything about him being a trade partner because nobody really wants him. And now he's dealing with this ankle injury. I think that Alvin Kamara is going to be number 3 for me, man. So the way we have it ranked is Krog and Sir Whittington all agree on Josh Downs being number 1, Alvin Kamara being number 2, and Zach Ertz number 3. Me, on the other hand, I'm putting Alvin Kamara at number 3 because of his lack of usage, and I'm sliding Zach Ertz in right up at the top or at number 2, along right under Josh Downs. So I want to hear from you guys what your picks are.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm pretty anti-AI, but I'm all in on the AI this week. For me, Josh Downs, all 3 of these players, I'm hoping that you don't have to play any of them. If you're playing one of these guys, it's like a pretty unfortunate circumstance for you. So best of luck, thoughts and prayers to whoever you would choose to pray to. But for me, Josh Downs was the easy one. You have the underneath targets. Like Tipp said, they're throwing the ball quite a bit in Indianapolis, which you wouldn't expect when you have Jonathan Tipp on your team. But they used the pass to open up the run, which is more of a modern concept there. So he was the easy one for me. Zach Ertz, the big concern that I have is just the difference in splits between him with Jaden Daniels and him without Jaden Daniels. He doesn't really find the end zone at all. So you're relying on Mariota, who he's had like good fantasy games, but I don't really think that the offense just moves the same with him. The one benefit that you do have, Terry McLaurin, I'm glad he got paid because he's just been a cardio king this year. He's really done nothing for that team. Absolute waste of a rookie or like a sophomore year for Jaden Daniels. So that's unfortunate for the Commanders, but I don't know if the Kamara noise is a Kamara problem. For whatever reason, part of it is they don't check the ball down at all. They have been like chuck it, pray for it. Rashid Shaheed quietly the top 25 wide receiver. He's one of 5 receivers prior to going to Seattle who has had at least 4 catches every game. He actually could be the first player in NFL history to do it in 18 games in a row because he has already played before and then is missing the bye week for Seattle. So I think that Kamara can do just enough. Yes, we're seeing a little bit more from like Devin Neal, lighter of a workload, but I just don't have enough confidence in Ertz with Mariota. I think that Kamara just has a slightly higher floor, but if you hid his name and you looked at his stats, he would not be on any rosters right now.
It's terrible. In the last 2 games, I mean, look, he had 8 touches in week 8, 7 touches in week 9. It's just really, really scary right now about what's going on with Alvin. And then you factor in that ankle injury. I know he was limited in practice, but still, it's just my thing is he gets on the field, he plays, and something happens, he gets rolled up on it, and then you're dealing with that in the first quarter or something. It's just really risky this week. But I agree, like you said, if you look at his stats, you would be like, who the hell is this dude? Well, he doesn't belong on anybody's team.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm thinking like, could you throw him in a trade because of the name value?
Yeah.
Like
that's the way you do it with somebody like him. You try to oh, hey man, I'll give you Alvin Kamara as well. Hey, in your head it's a throw in, and in your head you're trying to get him off your team. So, but yeah, use that name value for sure.
But the Saints couldn't even do that. So
Well, here's the thing about that. I don't know if y'all caught that news, but he more or less said, if you trade me, I'm retiring.
He is retiring. Yeah. He said he's gonna drink, what did he say, pina coladas?
Pina coladas on the beach, yeah.
He said that early, and then he kind of tempered it a bit. I don't know if it was because there was nobody interested anyway, but the one thing I'll say, and I'll first of all, no surprise, Josh Downs. I mean, it's a huge gap between Josh Downs and the other two guys. In fact, you could put them both in the same small little bag. And
well, no, there's a huge gap, but there's really not. They're only like 3 points within each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, but Downs has missed quite a few games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
And you kind of touched on it too, because the Falcons have been susceptible to the pass. I think they're going to be without Billy Bowman, and he gave up the 4 for 100 and a touchdown to Damari Douglas, and Malik Washington had 3 for 36, but he also got a touchdown. So I think that I think you mentioned it, Tipp, that you were expecting touchdowns from at least a couple of the.
Yeah, I think Downs and Pittman both get in the end zone this week.
And another name. I mean, first of all, Warren has been actually getting a lot of targets, and more recently, Pierce has been looking pretty good. Now, again, not a lot of targets, but when he does get something, it's usually down the field. So, but I still do think that Downs is easily my choice. The one thing, and I think you touched on it too with Alvin Kamara, is that he's not getting a lot of passes, but Rattler was more of the kind of the gunner. He was sending things downfield, and we don't know if Shuck's going to be a more conservative passer as a rookie than
I feel like if your name is Shuck and you do checkdowns, like it just doesn't line up. You gotta be shucking that thing downfield.
I wanted to also bring up one other reason why I like Downs out of the three. He gave up his uniform number to Sauce Gardner, so he went from 1 to 2. But anyone giving up their uniform, you got to figure there's going to be some good karma coming to him. So he would also be my choice too. The one thing I'm kind of worried about Ertz is, and you kind of mentioned it with Marcus Mariota coming up there, but he's only had 9 receptions for 78 yards over the 3 starts with Marcus Mariota. That's not a good sign. They're also going up against a really tough defense in the Detroit Lions, who've only given up under 5 catches for 24 yards per game to tight ends. But again, I would probably go along with you, Tipp, and say my order would be Downs, Ertz, just on the outside chance that he's going to get something.
I'm so unhappy with myself that I have 2 really good friends here, and now I've sided with the AI. I'm like sick of it.
So that's my order. And it's not like I really like Ertz that much either. As I said, I could have just said Downs and then been quiet for the rest of the time.
You got guys in this scenario. One guy who's on the up and up, like we were talking about with Downs, and 2 guys who are like right at that cusp of just falling off the cliff.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into Bob's question here. I think this has been the world's longest cliffhanger of what's going on. So Bob's looking for a spot start here. He's got Sutton tonight in about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You got Swift, Dobbs, Meyer, full PPR. What are you thinking, boys? Tipp, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't play Sutton tonight. I mean, I know the 4-game rest, but I mean the Raiders, man, we're giving up a ton of points to the wide receivers. I do like Dobbs though, especially with Tucker Kraft being out. I actually traded for Dobbs in a league, and I feel good about it. So I like Dobbs a lot. but it'll be between those two. If you have to choose one, go ahead and just go with Sutton this week, man. I think that I think the Raiders win. I think we win, but it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be a lot of points on the board, and Sutton's going to get you some points for sure.
Yeah, and the only thing that worries me a little bit about Sutton is Franklin's been really the kind of like the primary target for
thorn in the side, huh?
But and also the thing I like about Dobbs is that again, you mentioned Kraft being out. Also, Matthew Golden's been on like milk cartons. He's been just
terrible,
non-existent. Wicks is out already. He's been out, and so I think there's a good opportunity for Dobbs to have a really big game. So, but yeah, I would Sutton's definitely a wide receiver one, so I would be going that route.
I would go Swift. I would go Swift. Yeah, Swift in that matchup. I already talked about Kyle Monunga being my guy for the week. I think that Swift and him can both be startable players. He's had a touchdown pretty much every game that he's played in the last 3 weeks, over 100 yards, and that's with a 50% snap share. The Giants are struggling against the run, and I feel good about Dobbs playing if for some reason that Swift gets held out.
I know where you're going there. You're trying to throw the Detroit ties in there with two running backs and all that, and I think it can get there. I just don't know about right now because you're still dealing with Caleb Williams. You're still dealing with an offense that they're clicking. But again, look who they went with. Look who they went with against last week. First of all, Cincinnati. They're going against a bad defense in the Giants. Yes. But I just don't know if I'm ready to turn it on where both of them could be. It's like one or the other for me, and it's really hard to choose right now.
Yeah, I tell you one thing. I am doing everything I can to snatch up as many shares of Rome Odunze as I can. There was nothing there last week, but he's definitely their wide receiver one there. We already talked a little bit about DJ Moore. He had one running touchdown and he had one passing touchdown. Mm-hmm. I still think that Rome Odunze is their primary wide receiver. Also, like Colson Loveland coming in too. So, and I think Burton's healthy this week. So,
and Komet practiced in full today as well.
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of different targets for Caleb Williams to toss to. But
do you think it might confuse Caleb Williams a little bit with so many targets that are there?
Yeah, I thought they did try to simplify the offense going into the season, but there's a lot of targets or at least a lot of people to throw to. So anyway. I think we're really kind of already eased our way into the mailbag segment.
No? All right, let's ride.
Anytime I see Cliff on a...
That's who that is. I was trying to figure... I was thinking Norm. But I couldn't remember. I knew it was Cheers, but I couldn't remember.
Cheers, yeah. That was such a great show. But anyway, so we got some questions. And Joe, are you going to keep an eye on the chat?
I'll keep the chat on the chat. Yeah, track on the chat.
Chat on the track.
First question, and I'm going to let my buddy Tipp have first crack at it.
Uh-oh.
Because it's a tough one.
I haven't even seen these. Okay, let's see.
Nick Karam asked, Aaron Rodgers or Jacoby Brissett?
Oh, Jacoby Brissett, man. Yeah, so I think that this I think that this is the new QB for a while. He is going to be their bridge. I think Kyler Murray is probably no more unless Jacoby Brissett gets hurt. I want to say this too, man. The Seattle Seahawks, they can be had. They can't be had in the running game. The running game, you've got to forget about it. So Bam Knight this week, Amari DiMercado this week. I'm tempering expectations on those guys. But you can beat them through the air. And I know that they've got some dogs over there, but they've been a little banged up. And if you can get past that defensive line, the pressure that they get, which is quite often, if you can get past that pressure, I think that Jacoby Brissett, who has Trey McBride, who has Marvin Harrison Jr., you got to remember, Aaron Rodgers has DK Metcalf, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So he's
I'm
got a
about
little
to
bit
be
more
out
weapons.
there, honestly.
Yeah. Look, I know you're a Steelers fan, but I'll say this, man. Jacoby Brissett for me, you might get opportunity to get some rushing as well. Very little, not what Kyler Murray's going to give you, but he's going to get the ball. And look, he's got 3 straight games with 2 touchdowns. I think that he continues that. He might get the interception this week, but I think he gets you 2 touchdowns and 225 yards.
He's running that
Steel
offense
City,
the way
Oh, it's beautiful how he's doing
running
it.
the offense the way that Gannon wants. And Jacoby Brissett in his 3 starts, 3 quarterback 1 finishes. Week 6 against Indianapolis, QB7. Week 7 against Green Bay, you're like, oh, okay, it was a fluke. He played Indy. QB12 against Dallas, good matchup. QB10. I'm rolling with the brisket. Give me Jacoby Brissett. I feel good about it. He's got the better weapons. He's got the better offense. And you know what? Aaron Rodgers, throw Rogan. Yeah, he's been doing his thing. He's holding that team afloat, but that is a run-first offense, and Arizona is definitely not that. Give me Brissett easily.
Okay, and I also lean Brissett. I think Rodgers is doing okay as the quarterback for the Steelers, but I also agree that Brissett's got much better targets.
That defense bailed him out last week. The Pittsburgh Steelers bailed him out big time.
Yeah, 6 turnovers is great.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next question comes from Douglas Contreras, and he needs to sit one of the following, and pretty good list. Juwan Jennings versus the Rams, Tyrone Tracy at the Bears, or I mentioned him, Troy Franklin versus the Raiders. So which of those 3 are you going to sit? And let's let you start us off, Jeff.
Yeah, so Troy Franklin is a must start out of those 3. He's the one that I feel the most comfortable with. We've talked about how he's been kind of taking a lot of that target share in the Denver offense. I think they're going to continue to throw the ball well again tonight against the Raiders. So that's the easy pick. Tyrone Tracy, he was the hot waiver wire pickup last week. Everybody's like, hey, he's going to be the guy now that Cam's out. And then Devin Singletary was like, hey, remember when they paid me that money 2 years ago? I'm still that guy. Get out of the way.
You got it.
Team. Neither one of them was really all that great. I have them in that back end running back 3 range, like that 30 to 35 kind of area. So I don't feel all that comfortable with it. I'm probably going to sit Tracy just because of that split. But I don't feel too strongly about that. Looking at the matchup for the Giants, Chicago's only given up 16.7 points to running backs in the last 3 weeks in full PPR. So you're banking on Tracy really getting those receptions, and Chicago just really hasn't allowed that. So that's going to be my pick.
And when they get in a red zone, or especially really close, it's Jackson Dart time. I mean, he's running it in there. He's doing his best Josh Allen impression. He's getting the ball in the end zone. Damn those running backs. Since Cataboo's not there, he's getting the ball in the end zone himself.
Yeah, and then also, and you mentioned red zone, Juwan Jennings actually is he has 5 more red zone targets than any other receiver with the 49ers. So, I would also sit, Tracy out of that 3 as well.
The one I did see an interesting stat today on Twitter. I forget who mentioned it, but Juwan Jennings, when he goes up against man, he averages 15% more targets per game than when he primarily goes against zone. So he's one of those guys that, depending on the defense that you're going against, another shameless plug for something I have no affiliation to, fantasy points data, you can kind of find those different things and say, hey, are they going to be a man heavy defense? Are they not? And then that makes it almost like a pretty easy decision when you're thinking about putting him out of that.
Yeah, and I think kind of to reinforce that, that Jennings only has struggled against zone defenses with just 0.23 fantasy points per route run. So I think that, again, we're looking for who's going to get you the best chance for getting a touchdown. And I think that's Jennings out of the 3 mentioned. Although I do like Troy Franklin as well. So why don't we go to the next question? And it's from William Tackett. And he says that he just lost Jaden Daniels. So now he has to decide, and what league is he in when all these guys are available to him? But he has to decide between Goff, Dart, Darnold and McCarthy. I mean, 8-man league.
You mean 9? You have to refer to him as 9, and then you have to cringe so hard that your skin falls off.
Wow.
So, Tipp, why don't you give us a shot?
It's Dart for me. He's going to give you the best opportunity in rushing. He's going to give you the best. He's going to do some things in the passing game, but he's going to give you, out of those that I just heard, he's going to give you. I mean, you could go Goff as well if you want to go that route, but I'm looking for the rushing as well. So I'm going to go Jackson Dart. I don't know why. Like it was funny. I want to say it was 3 weeks ago. He was like 52% rostered in sleeper. And then I remember because I was on a show and I was like, why is he only rostered in this? He needs to be rostered in 90% at least. And then shortly after that, you start to see him go up. Now he's like at 97%. But yeah, this kid is for real, man. At least this year. I'm not here to predict what's going to happen next year. But right now, this kid is locked in. He's fired up. He's a competitor. He's getting you fantasy points. He's either had 50 rushing yards. He's had a score. And then there's some games, there's actually 4 games now. He's had 50 yards and a score. And that's elite category. So I really like Jackson Dart a lot.
So I've got an important game where I'm having to start Tyler Shuck. So I'm looking at these other guys, and I was like, how in the world? Short answer, of course, Dart. Of the ones that we didn't mention, you mentioned Goff. I actually like Darnold. I mean, he not only has probably the best wide receiver in football right now in JSN, but they also just got Rashid Shaheed, and that's
he's gonna be nice for that offense.
He is such a great fit, and so Dart.
Dart's been the 4th highest scoring quarterback in points per game in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Without his without his primary wide receiver too,
and his primary running back.
And sometimes you'll see like there'll be like last week it was especially Dart was sitting on like 10 points for the longest time, and I'm like, oh my god, like because I have Matthew Stafford in that league as well, and Matthew Stafford hadn't played yet, but I was like, I just was banking so hard on his rushing that I was like, man, but sure enough, he's one of those players that as the game keeps going, he gets better, it seems. So yeah, Jackson Darts, man, he's here to stay, and if you got him on your squad, you got to definitely play this team.
And I love both young quarterbacks that came into the league this year. You got not just Dart, who's just been awesome, but also Drake May came in last year, and most likely he's the number 1 quarterback that came into the league last year. With all the expectations around Caleb Williams, but the league's in really good shape with all these young quarterbacks. We did kind of mention a couple old ones in Rodgers and Brissett, but
you know what though? I'm just glad that Jackson Dart is in the NFC. I'm so sick and tired of these AFC teams getting all of these good quarterbacks, and then I have to sit here and watch Mason Rudolph, Chuck Hodges, old Aaron Rodgers, and then everybody else has these MVP candidates, these young hot rookies, all these second-year guys, and it's like, all right, cool, I have the 11th best quarterback in the conference. Like, I feel really good about my Super Bowl chances. I'm sick of it. I'm so done with it.
Okay, well, the next question, and may have spurred my comment about Drake May, from Ben Welter. He says, I have Drake May as my quarterback. Who should I flex? Jordan Addison against the Ravens or Stephon Diggs? I'm guessing he's thinking stack. Stephon Diggs versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Joe, you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, so let's just look at the matchups here. Baltimore has turned it around defensively. Let's just start there, right? They were first couple weeks of the season, it was like anybody that's playing Baltimore, you're playing. You're in the lineup. Addison has taken a step forward this year, especially when we were looking at the Carson Wentz connection. He was supporting both JJ and Jordan Addison. We didn't see a ton in the passing attack from JJ McCarthy, a.k.a. 9, a.k.a. Cringe God last week. He only completed 14 passes. He was around like 150 yards. So you're really banking on the touchdowns. I don't necessarily feel great about that. We do have a tough matchup for New England going up against Tampa Bay. Like I mentioned, they're both averaging around 31 points per game in the last 3 weeks. I do think that Diggs has a more consistent role in that offense. I don't have them separated by much, but I'm going to give just the slightest bump because I have more confidence in May than I do in J.J. McCarthy. But I am a known J.J. McCarthy hater, so let's just call that out like it is.
Tipster.
So they're both tough calls, right? So whenever I get to that point where it's a tough call and no running back is involved, because sometimes I'm going to lean that way if there's one of those guys. But what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to look at the point total, right? So then I go look at the point total. Baltimore is going to put points up there on the board. We know that. So that's going to allow or make Minnesota put points on the board as well. And you got to deal with Justin Jefferson. I do agree that the offense has or the defense has looked better with Baltimore. But man, I'm still going to go with what I've been seeing on the field with Jordan Addison and J.J. McCarthy. They're building something. Look, Justin Jefferson, he's already that guy. You don't have to worry about him. He's going to be good. I think what he's trying to do now is he's trying to build communications with T.J. Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. T.J. Hawkinson more in the short, intermediate red zone area, and Addison as a downfield threat. So I think that we see that again this week. I'm going to Addison, man. Stephon Diggs has been coming on as of late. It's just I don't know. I kind of have a feeling that this is going to be something that doesn't last long. I think they're dealing with some things because of their running back situation. They're passing more. Okay, that's great. But Hunter Henry, let's don't forget about him. Let's don't forget about Booty. You know, I'm a Booty guy. So I'm still going to go Addison though.
Yeah, I'm also going Addison. I think that in the last 3 games, he's had like 14 receptions on 20 targets for 202 yards. And that's 9.3 fantasy points per game. So
the only thing with that, Rick,
go ahead. You know?
I was just going to say that 9 of those receptions and 128 of those yards, that was one game against Philly. He's had 4 targets in each of the last 2 weeks. I think they realize that and they try to get him back to that 6 to 8 range. They should.
Great player. Yeah, they get him back to that 6 to 8 range. I think that's his wheelhouse. That's where you've seen him do some damage, and I think they get him back to that this week. Baltimore, they have been playing better as of late, but they can still be had. And I think if you go down and then with a coach like KOC who's going to scheme up and put J.J. McCarthy in really good position, I think that this offense shows some things this week.
Yeah, that's for that, and that's for Greg hearing that Michigan fight song going on. But the other thing is, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Diggs hasn't cracked 14 fantasy points since week 5. So
Diggs has been getting carried pretty heavily by touchdowns the last couple of weeks to salvage his games. So that's helped him quite a bit. I think the big difference will be, does Booty play or not? And if Booty plays, it's probably not going to be as good. He said on his Discord, which like makes me feel really old, that he probably will play, but we'll see what happens with it. It's interesting for sure.
And I know it's coach speak. Every time they talk about a young player, I know that the Texans talked about, Jalen Noel, he's not being pushed aside. He's still a key part. There's another, opportunity for him to in the future. But I think the Vrabel said something about Kyle Williams, who has been pretty much non-existent in their offense. That they're looking for him to get more involved. So we'll see on that one. But again, I'm still going with Addison after that. I just saw Will show up in the backstage. I'm going to bring him in just to say hi. Will!
Hey, guys. Sorry for that huge delay. It's the budget season, and my time is not always my own right now.
No worries at all. We're just getting at the very tail end of the mailbag section. So we'll go ahead and have you chime in as well with the last question, which came into us from Jill E.B. And that is, which quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones? So that's a
Can I just give a quick answer right here?
yeah.
This is for Scott the King Angle, who as a dear friend. I think you're overthinking it. Like I think you're overthinking it. Just go out there and play Jalen Hurts on Monday night. Just be fine.
Darn through.
I mean, even if it is 2025, Indianapolis is taking on Atlanta. That team restricts passing yards like no one else in the league right now. So if you knew that going in of how good their pass defense is, you're running Jonathan Taylor to the wheels fall off against Atlanta, especially at home.
Yeah, and also you gotta like they're both great quarterbacks, but I think Jones was a little bit down to earth, back to earth on the last game. This is going to be another tough opportunity. Whereas Jalen Hurts, he's going to get a push to for touch. He's also starting to ramp up the passing more to both AJ Brown and to Devonta Smith. And frustrating for both those wide receivers is, there'll be one game for one and one game for the other. But I do think that them and Goddard all good targets. I think that I would go Hurts. And you're right. Well, don't overthink it. This guy's a top 3 quarterback in the league, and you're going to use him. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I don't need to say anything more than was already said. You guys nailed it.
Okay, well, we have come up to the top of the hour, so wanted to first of all, Will, appreciate you jumping in at the tail end. Why don't you tell folks how folks can get a hold of you, where you're at?
Certainly. So I've gone by the moniker Retro Coach. My name is Will Thompson. Originally, I got into Twitter, Discord, and elsewhere based on helping out a little mobile game called Retro Bowl. Originally, it was designed intent of being like technical from the past, but mobile, easy to play, and you only play offense. Your defense is all simulated. So I helped out with some of the testing, the uniform designs, and created quite a following with all my tips. I played fantasy football originally going back to 95 or so. Before that, fantasy baseball in 91 was my first time. I ran a basketball league for a couple of years, 93 to 94. But had been out of fantasy football since about 2015. Heard about the Scotts Fishbowl, needed to find out what that was, and that sort of got me rolling. So now I'm in several of the charity leagues. I've got 3 different home leagues, little dynasties. So I'm dabbling all over at this point in fantasy football. So it's exciting to be a Joe, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Well, do appreciate you jumping in.
Yeah.
And Tipster, why don't you remind folks how they can find your great work?
Yeah, so of course with the sports affiliation, every Thursday I do the AI segment. At Sunday nights we do the fantasy football nuggets. I also do the AI article that you guys can find on there every Friday night. So tune into that tomorrow. And then other platforms as well. Follow me on Twitter. You see me on Rotoballer. You see me on football guys as well. A couple spots on Sirius XM Radio I've done. So just having a bunch of fun with it, man. I just can't wait for what the future holds, like Will said.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And Joe, special thanks to you for stepping in and filling in while Greg's out there in Japan. Why don't you remind people how they can find your great work?
Yeah, for sure. Most of my stuff is on fsn.com. You can find me in them Reddit streets trying to get them upvotes. And on Sundays, I'm slanging memes because you know what? As much fun it is talking stats and all that stuff, it's even more fun just talking trash and stuff that's out of our control. So always a pleasure being here. Tough filling in for a Hall of Famer shoes, but it's been a lot of fun. And anytime that I get to spend time with Rick and Tipp, it's always a blast. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Do appreciate it. And most of all, we appreciate you folks out in the audience. Without you, we wouldn't be here. But also, more importantly, it's our goal just to make you a better, more successful fantasy player, and in the process, have more fun. So Do appreciate all of you tuning in. If you like the show, go ahead and make sure to hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribing, please subscribe and keep an eye out for other great shows on the sports affiliation. With that, we appreciate you being here, but we're going to go ahead and go have dinner and have a great week and good luck in your games this week.
The old school.